You think the silence means she's moved on, but the silence means she's terrified. Let that land for a second, because everything you've been told about what happens when a relationship ends, about who holds the power, about who suffers, about who comes crawling back, has been filtered through a version of the story that was never designed to help you. It was designed to keep you small, keep you confused, and keep you chasing. And today, that ends. What I'm about to walk you through is not theory. It's not feel-good nonsense. It's a blueprint for understanding one of the most psychologically revealing dynamics that exists between men and women. What happens in a woman's mind, in her behavior, and in her actions when she truly, fully, irreversibly realizes that she has lost you. Not just that you walked away, not just that you said you were done, but that you are done. That the version of you she used to manipulate, manage, guilt, and take for granted no longer exists. That man is gone, and she knows it. Here's what it really means when a woman's behavior shifts after a real loss. It means the frame has flipped. It means the power dynamic has corrected itself. It means reality has finally arrived. And what you're going to see, the texts, the soft attempts, the sudden warmth, the mysterious appearances, those are not signs that she loves you. Those are signs that she respects you for the first time. Or finally, the last time. Before we go deeper, if this kind of truth is what you need, not validation, not flattery, but actual clarity, then hit subscribe right now, because this channel exists for the man who is tired of being confused, tired of second-guessing himself, tired of losing ground in his own life. You need reminders, not because you're weak, because the world is loud and the noise is constant and real perspective is rare. Subscribe, stay close. Now let's go. Here's the misconception. Most men walk around carrying like dead weight. They believe that when a woman has treated them poorly, when she pulled away, played games, disrespected boundaries, or simply undervalued what they brought to the table, and then that man finally walks away or levels up to the point where she can no longer reach him, they believe she either doesn't care or she has immediately moved on to someone better. They believe the narrative that says she never really wanted you, she found someone else, your departure meant nothing. That belief is so deeply planted that men shrink from it. They use it as proof of their own unworthiness. They let it eat them from the inside out, and it is almost entirely false. Here is the hard truth. A woman who treated you like an option when you were available does not remain indifferent when you become unavailable. That is not how human psychology works. That is not how attraction works. That is not how loss works. The moment you stop being accessible, the moment you stop being reactive, the moment you stop auditioning for a role you already deserved, something shifts in her. And it is visceral. It is not logical. It is not a decision she makes consciously. It rises in her the way hunger rises, the way awareness arrives when something you once ignored is suddenly, permanently gone. Here is why it happens, and this is the part that most men never hear explained clearly. Women, like all human beings, operate on a perceived value system, not because they're calculating or cold, but because the brain is constantly making relative assessments. When you were present, available, emotionally invested, and willing to absorb poor treatment without consequence, your perceived value was suppressed. Not because you were actually low value, but because you were behaving in a way that signaled unlimited access, and unlimited access to anything, regardless of its actual worth, gets taken for granted. That's not a character flaw in her. That's just the nature of scarcity and abundance. We protect what we fear losing. We ignore what we assume will always be there. When you leave, truly leave, not as a tactic, not as a game, but as a man who has recalibrated his own sense of self-worth and decided that the dynamic was beneath him, you create scarcity. And scarcity activates value perception like nothing else can. She does not suddenly see you differently because you became a different man overnight. She sees you differently because the conditions that allowed her to undervalue you have been removed. The mirror broke. The illusion that she could always come back, always reset, always get another chance, gone. And when that illusion dies, something very uncomfortable and very honest begins. Now, here is what it costs when a man does not understand this dynamic. It costs him everything. It costs him the reclamation of his own story. A man who does not understand that his departure carries weight will talk himself out of his own power. He will interpret her silence as indifference and collapse back into pursuit. He will see one kind gesture and return, convinced she has changed, only to find himself right back in the same dynamic, devalued, reactive, confused. He will repeat this cycle for months, sometimes years, because he never understood what his absence was actually doing. He was giving away leverage and calling it love. He was abandoning his own position and calling it hope. That's called self-erasure, and it is the most expensive thing a man can do. The cost is not just the relationship. The cost is the version of himself he loses every time he returns to someone who has not earned that return. Every time you go back prematurely, you teach her, and more importantly, you teach yourself that your standards are negotiable, that your boundaries are decorative, that your self-respect has a price low enough to be paid in a single warm text message at 11 at night. You become the man who says things and means nothing, and you start to believe it yourself. So here's the reframe, and I need you to hear this at full volume because it changes the entire architecture of how you see this. Her reaching back is not a reward for your pain. It is a receipt for your growth. It is confirmation, not an invitation. Read that again. Her coming back, the soft text, the sudden interest, the "I've been thinking about you," the like on a post from 3 months ago, the mutual friend who mentions your name. None of that is the universe telling you to go back. All of that is the universe confirming that what you already did was correct. That the decision you made to value yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserved was the right one. It produced results, real, psychological, behavioral results in another person. That is the proof you needed, not proof that you should return. Proof that you were always worth more than you were getting. Now let me describe a man to you, and I want you to pay attention to this because this is not a fantasy figure. This is a real man. This is a man you have met in some version of your own life or a version of yourself you've glimpsed in your best moments. This man does not chase, not because he is cold, not because he is damaged, not because he has walled himself off from emotion. He does not chase because he is fundamentally, structurally grounded in who he is. His identity does not require her confirmation. His day does not rise and fall with whether she texted back. He woke up with a purpose before he met her, and he will wake up with a purpose after. That is not detachment. That is direction. This man has standards, not as a weapon, not as a game, but as a natural expression of his self-respect. When someone violates those standards, he does not escalate emotionally. He does not lecture. He does not beg. He simply adjusts his level of access, quietly, firmly, completely. He understands that the most powerful statement he can make is not an argument or an ultimatum. It is a removal of presence. He stops showing up for what doesn't honor him, and in that stopping, the world recalibrates around him. This man is not angry, and this is critical because anger is still attachment. Anger still means she has power over your internal state. This man is peaceful. He has processed the disappointment. He has felt the grief because grief is honest and grief means something mattered. But he did not let the grief become a prison. He moved through it and came out on the other side, not hardened, but clarified. He knows what he wants. He knows what he will and will not accept. And he knows, without arrogance, without performance, that the right woman will find those qualities magnetic. This man does not perform strength. He does not post cryptic quotes. He does not broadcast his healing. He is simply building every day, quietly, relentlessly, building his life, his health, his finances, his craft, his peace. And because he is building, he naturally becomes more. Not to attract her back, to fulfill himself. But the consequence of becoming more is that the women who overlooked you begin to notice. Not because you did something to get their attention, because real growth is visible and real disinterest in approval is irresistible. That man is not a myth. He is a direction. He is the version of you that exists on the other side of all the emotional reactivity you've been carrying. Now let me give you the actual behaviors, what she does when she knows she has truly lost you, and what each behavior means so you can decode it clearly and respond with absolute precision. She texts after months of silence. Not because she missed you on Tuesday afternoon, because something happened. She saw your photo, she heard your name, she went on 3 bad dates. She had a quiet moment alone, and in that moment, The memory of what she had, what she wasted, what she dismissed, arrived with full force. That text is not love, it is reckoning, and you are not obligated to receive it as an opportunity. You are allowed to read it as confirmation and keep moving. She becomes suddenly warm and available after being cold and distant. She responds fast. She remembers things you mentioned. She laughs at your jokes with a little more emphasis. She touches your arm a half second longer than necessary. That is not the woman you knew. That is the woman who realizes she is no longer the one setting the terms, and she is trying to re-establish connection before the window closes completely. Recognize it. Do not be moved by it automatically. Warmth from someone who was previously cold is not a character transformation. It is a strategic response to perceived loss. It can become genuine over time with consistent actions, but it is not genuine yet, not based on one warm Sunday afternoon. She engineers situations to see you, the mutual friend invitation, the event she knows you'll attend, the errand that somehow takes her past your part of town. These are not coincidences. They are reconnaissance missions. She is testing whether the man she remembers is still accessible, still reactive, still willing to soften the moment she shows up. Your job in those moments is to be exactly who you have become. Warm, composed, genuine, unaffected, not cold, not performative, just grounded. Let her see the man without giving her the man back. That distinction matters. She speaks to your character. She tells people how great you are. She mentions you in conversations with friends in ways that circle back to you. She says things like he was one of the good ones, or I didn't appreciate him the way I should have. These are not just words. These are admissions, spoken out loud because the internal pressure of the realization has become too great to contain. You were good. She knows it. And now she is processing that in real time, sometimes privately, sometimes publicly, because human beings narrate their losses as a way of understanding them. Let her process. Do not insert yourself into her processing. That is not your work to do anymore. Here's what you do right now, starting today. Not when you feel ready, not when it hurts less. Now. You stop monitoring. You stop checking her profile. You stop analyzing her activity like it's a code you can crack. Every second you spend decoding her behavior is a second you are not building yours. Stop. The information you're gathering from her social media will never give you what you're actually looking for, which is clarity and peace. Those cannot be found in her timeline. They can only be found in your own. You stop explaining yourself. You stop sending the long messages that lay out your value, your intentions, your feelings, your disappointment. The man who has truly stepped into his power does not write essays to prove his worth. His actions are the essay. His life is the testimony. Let it speak. Go silent on the justifications. You redirect every ounce of energy that used to go toward managing her emotions, her perceptions, her responses. Redirect it inward, into your health, into your work, into your relationships with men who push you forward, into the craft you've been neglecting, into the version of your life that exists when you stop waiting for someone else to validate its value. That energy does not disappear when you stop pouring it into a losing dynamic. It transforms. And the transformation is the thing she cannot get back. That is the thing that becomes truly, permanently lost to her. Not you as a person, but you as a man she can manage and predict. That version of you is gone, and it should never return. You rebuild your standards not as a reaction to her, but as a reflection of who you actually are. Write them down if you need to. Say them out loud. What do I actually require in a relationship? What are the non-negotiables? What behavior will I no longer absorb? What will I no longer justify or explain away? Build the architecture of your self-respect from the inside out and let it govern every interaction that follows, with her, with anyone new, with every person who seeks to determine whether you can be taken advantage of. And here's the last thing, the thing I want to sit with you for just a moment because it matters more than all of it. You are not doing this to win. You are not doing this to make her regret it. You are not doing this so you can feel the satisfaction of watching her come back. Those are byproducts, and sometimes they happen. But if you make them the goal, you corrupt the entire process, because then you are still centering her. You are still organizing your growth around her reaction. And that means she still has the frame. That means she still wins even when she loses. You are doing this because you deserve to. Because the life you are capable of living, the version of you that is grounded, purposeful, selective, and at peace. That version is not a negotiating position. It is not something you become to get her back or to attract someone better. It is the life you owe yourself. It is the standard you should have held all along. And every day you spend in that life building that man is a day you reclaim something that belongs to you. You are not the option. You never were. You just temporarily accepted the role, and now you don't. That is the shift. That is the identity reset, not a decision, a recognition. You were always the answer. You just stopped waiting for someone else to confirm it. If this hit you, if somewhere in the last several minutes something clarified inside you that has been foggy for a long time, then do yourself one favor. Subscribe. Because this channel is a regular return to truth in a world that is constantly trying to pull you back into confusion, you need this voice in your rotation, not because I'm asking for the number, because you deserve to have something in your life that speaks to you straight, without apology, without agenda, without softening what needs to be hard. We are building something real here, a community of men who refuse to collapse, men who do their work, hold their standard, and treat their own lives with the seriousness those lives deserve. You belong here. Come back, stay close, and keep going.